Good evening. The Charter Township of Plymouth Board of Trustees meeting for Tuesday, October 8th, 2019 will come to order. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Heitman.
Here.
Trustee Dempsey.
Present.
Clerk Borba here. Trustee Dorchevitz. Trustee Kermy.
Here.
Treasurer Clinton.
Here.
Supervisor Heisler.
Here.
All present. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Tonight's Pledge of Allegiance, Guy Valet from the Fire Department. Would you like to lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
That didn't sound good either.
Okay, next is approval of the, we have proclamation recognizing Fire Prevention Week. So Chief Phillips, would you like to step up and bring some of your team with you here?
Yes. This is the crew at Fire Station 1 today. As you know, the second Saturday of the month is or the second week of the month of October is to celebrate the Fire Safety Prevention Week. Today, October 8th of 1871, the Great Chicago Fire happened. Everybody knows about the Great Chicago Fire. But what most people don't know, and you guys might remember me saying this last year, is that on the exact same day, the Port Huron fire happened in Michigan, which killed 200 people and burned Port Huron and most of the Thumb. Also on this day was a big fire in Pastigio, Wisconsin, which killed a lot more people than Chicago and took out the town of Pastigio and many other towns. But obviously it did not get the press of Mrs. O'Leary's cow. So we're here today to accept that proclamation, recognizing people to be safe about fire and to be conscientious in their homes and in their workplaces.
And this year's theme of Fire Prevention Week is Not Every Hero Wears a Cape. Plan and practice your escape. So we're encouraging folks to make sure that they know what to do in the event of an emergency, especially for not just fires, but other hazards such as tornadoes, storms, blackouts, things like that that may occur on a more regular basis.
That's correct. And look for your nearest exit. So.
Okay. So why don't you gentlemen come forward and we will present the proclamation for Fire Prevention Week. And Chief, also don't forget to let us know about the fire station open house.
That's
weekend.
right. This Saturday from 10 to 2, we are going to have a fire safety open house at Fire Station 1 right across the parking lot here. We will have a demonstration of the Jaws of Life. We will have a demonstration of cooking fire on a stove that we put out. We also have a device that we built that teaches people how to use fire extinguishers, children and parents alike. We have a squirt house for kids to spray water at a house to put out a fire, and a lot of other fire safety lessons to be learned.
I believe we will also have a 911 phone where kids can call 911 here and somebody in our dispatch will pick it up.
Yes, well, one of our dispatchers will go out there to the device and answer it out there. But with that being said, this looks like an old-fashioned payphone that says police on it, and somebody brought up to me that kids these days don't know what that is.
Right.
So that is showing our age at some of the outdated technologies. We're going to have to start teaching kids how to dial 911 on a cell phone.
Absolutely. Okay. And, don't forget the pumpkin patch, too. The firemen have a pumpkin patch this year at both Station 1 and Station 3, and the proceeds go to what? To local charities. Okay, so who wants the honor here tonight of receiving the proclamation? That will be Mr. Guy Valet of the Plymouth Township Fire Department.
Get in there.
All right, very good.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
How you doing?
Good job, guys.
How you doing?
There goes his. There goes his. That's good.
So much for seeing.
Sorry about that.
Oh, Fox.
Thank you.
Take care now. Thank you very much.
When you put them in high, how you doing?
I won't knock yours over.
Thanks for all your work.
When you put them in upside, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you.
All righty.
Holy.
Thank you.
Very good. Next up is the approval of the agenda. I would request tonight that we remove item F4, that is the storm drain agreement for Plymouth Parks and Eats. We've been informed that that project is not quite complete yet, and we do not want to issue any stormwater permits until such time as the applicant has complied with all of our construction requirements. So that will be back, but we're not going to act on that tonight. All right, hearing no further objections, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Supervisor,
Mr. Heitman.
I move we approve the amended agenda.
Motion's made by Trustee Heitman. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Clerk Vorba. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is item D, approval of the consent agenda. Any comments or questions from the board?
Mr. Supervisor, I have one change. Page 15, page 15, it's page 6 of the proposed minutes. Trustee Heitman indicated owners of the borough's building have agreed to spend $25 million, not $125 million.
Okay.
It'd be nice they could spend it all, but $25 million is the right number, and we're going to make sure that's in there.
All right, we will make that change. Any other comments or questions under item D? Hearing none, I need a motion to approve.
Mr. Supervisor,
Mr. Clerk, sorry.
I move for the approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, October the 8th, 2019.
Motion's made by Clerk Vorba. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Heitman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is item E, public comments and questions. This is not your only opportunity during the evening to ask our questions or comments. We will have another opportunity at the end of the meeting. We do ask that your comments be limited to 3 minutes, and that we will ensure that comments or questions are directed to the board and not to other members of the audience or guests. Anyone at this time? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Come up to the...
My name is Alex Wassel. I live in Heather Hills subdivision. The only question, and I don't know who exactly to address it to because of the last statement, but I just want to know if there's any burn restrictions in the township ongoing at the moment, and two, if there's any sort of list of the charities that the donations to the firefighters,
Chief Phillips?
There are currently no burn restrictions in the township outside of the normal ordinances that we have. You can't have bonfires. You can have small recreational fires that conform to our ordinances, with the exception of if it causes one of your neighbors great discomfort because of medical conditions, then we will ask you to put it out. As far as the charities that they donate to, I know that last year what they did is they contacted the Plymouth Canton schools and asked them if there was any needy children. And last year they donated coats, Christmas presents to some children in the Plymouth community. I'm not sure if that's what they plan to do this year, but every year they look for a different charity and they try to spread the wealth around, for lack of a better term.
all right, it sounds like a great thing, and I'll try to buy a pumpkin or two.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Will you clarify the bonfire statement?
Yeah.
Please?
Yeah, that's true. The bonfire statement, you cannot have bonfires. Any bonfire, any large fire you can't have. A small recreational fire less than 36 inches in diameter, you are allowed to have for general recreation, cooking, as long as it's more than 25 feet away from a structure. You have a method of extinguishment there immediately. You cannot burn leaves. That is state law. You cannot burn building materials. That is also state law.
Does it have to be in a container?
If it's in a container, like one you would purchase at a Lowe's or Home Depot, you can actually be closer to a structure because they're smaller in diameter. I do recommend a container, like I know Tractor Supply sells fire rings, but they have some that go as large as 48 inches. Those would be illegal here. I would prefer them in a container, but the code does not specifically state that.
36 inches, though, is the limit.
36 inches, yes, and less than 2 feet high.
Wow.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Next, we're going to move on to item F. This is new business. Item F1 is an amendment for exhibits to the Watua swap agreement with Wayne County. You may recall that the board approved the original swap agreement with Wayne County, Canton, City of Plymouth, City of Northville, and Northville Township back in April. Since then, the county has also approved the document and has requested that that new exhibits be included into the agreement to supplant the ones that were there originally. These exhibits have additional detail, which is making it easier to interpret where what areas will be swapped for sewer coverage. There is no change to the substantive language of the original agreement with the county, and the amendments, these exhibits, were approved by the WATUA board on September 23rd. I believe they were also approved by the City of Plymouth last Monday. So I would request your concurrence in the proposed motion.
So which ones are new? All or
Yes.
just the swap section?
Everything that is included here is new.
So they changed their mind after they signed it?
No, they wanted additional clarification so we know what exactly what areas were.
So they never did sign it?
They did sign it.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we're good about that.
Yeah, we're fine.
Hopefully we have reciprocity if we ever need the same courtesy from the county of Wayne.
Very good. Can I have a motion on this item?
Mr. Supervisor,
Mr. Heitman?
I move to adopt Resolution 2019-10-8-92, authorizing the attached amendments and exhibits to the sanitary sewer service agreement by and among the City of Plymouth, Plymouth Township, Canton Township, Western Townships Utility Authority, WATUA, and the County of Wayne, originally approved by the board on April 23, 2019.
Motion's been made by Trustee Heitman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Clerk Borba. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Clerk Borba, yes. Treasurer Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Dempsey.
Yes.
Trustee Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Trustee Heitman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next up is item F2. This is the contract for the CDBG Park funded improvements. Jeremy Schroep, you're on.
The Plymouth Township receives money from annually from Wayne County Community Wellness and Community Development Block Grants for use on public service programs. This year's project was selected as the accessible play structure and parking lot in the Township Park. The original plan was to improve the parking areas as well as the path to that accessible play structure. We received 2 sealed bids for the project, but both bids were considerably higher than what we anticipated. We've negotiated, we've spoken with the contractor about potentially removing that pathway and allowing the parking lot to be repaired, and that fits within our existing budget for what we get annually from CDBG. And that's what's in front of you, is the revised contract for repairs to the parking lot.
Okay. And
You
this can be
clarify,
done-
I'm confused.
Hold on, excuse me.
Oh.
This can be done before the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay. So when are they going to get started?
Assuming this is acceptable, the pre-construction meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, and construction
good.
would start Thursday and Friday.
Okay. Chuck?
Just for some background, this was scheduled to be prepared in 2018 originally, right? And we didn't do, I'm confused, we're not going to do the pathway currently exists out of what material? What is it made out of today?
I believe it's gravel.
No. It's concrete.
It's wood chips, isn't it?
So, we don't know. Okay, that appears to be the conclusion. So so we're cutting that out and spending $60,000 just for the repair of the asphalt and or concrete?
There's several large potholes in
Yes.
the parking area, and this is for the repair of those potholes and the
That's what
repair of the
you're talking
base
about, yeah.
associated with that, to bring that back up to ADA accessible standards.
So some will be asphalt and some will be concrete work
Correct.
and no pathway.
No pathway.
So how much will we have left over then?
We don't, it's up
It'll
to the...
spend 100% of the remaining grant?
Correct.
Now, we're allowed to save up from year to year, right? For
No.
a major project?
No, we can save up, with permission, we can save up on park millage money, but not CDBG. CDBG now, in fact, this is the last,
This,
this is the last segment of CDBG money that we will be able to spend on capital improvement projects, brick and mortar projects for the foreseeable future. We are entitled to some money down the road, but we're going to have to, we're going to have to wait, and we also cannot be guaranteed because we don't necessarily meet the federal poverty requirements.
all right, so this will exhaust all of our, any remaining and any allocation from this year, any arrears and any allocation for 20.
I
Is this
understand.
2018 we're getting or 2019 money?
I think this is mostly 2019, maybe some leftover 18, but the CDBG people don't like it when you bundle the money for future projects.
Which, that's what we did for Friendship Station.
Yeah.
That's how, okay, so that's not allowed, plus the law changes. Western Wayne County has too many people that have too much money, and we're not going to get any more.
And basically, Wayne County is now running the CDBG program. All we get now is funding for administrative overhead, and we get some extra programming money that we provide to the Plymouth Community Council on Aging. Okay. Gary?
Yeah, I have a question. Temporary traffic control devices? What is that?
Right. Cones?
Yeah, it's basically like type 3 barricades and cones, something to warn people that, hey, there's a cut in the pavement.
How much is the line item for that?
The line
lot of
item
cones.
for that is...
That's ridiculous. For 30 lineal feet of blockade?
Yeah,
in
it's
in a parking lot?
$10,000, but typically what they do is they bury that cost, they bury other items in that lump sum item because they know they're going to get paid on a schedule based on how much of the project is complete. That's usually what they do on a lot of projects.
Well, they do what we want them to do, not what they want to do. We're paying the bill.
Correct, but it's a unit price bid, so we give them units to bid on, and they put more money into one unit versus another unit.
So our bid specification allowed that.
Our bid specification spells out what's included in traffic control. We don't control how much money they put into traffic control.
We also have to follow the federal guidelines as well.
This is
Okay.
a classic waste of public money.
Okay, anybody else? Need a motion?
Mr. Supervisor,
Mr. Clerk?
I move to adopt Resolution 2019-10-08-93, authorizing the award of the CDBG Plymouth Township Park Accessible Improvement to Merlot Construction in an amount not to exceed $60,810.
Motion's been made by Clerk Borba. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Heitman. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Treasurer Clinton.
Yes.
Alarms going on.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Dempsey.
Yes.
Trustee Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Trustee Heitman. Clerk Borba, yes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is item F3. This is the Global CNC Storm Drain Agreement. Mr. Schroet.
There we go.
This is a stormwater agreement for an existing building on Cleat Street off of 5 Mile and Sheldon. They are adding a building addition onto the existing building and improving the stormwater infrastructure as a part of that, which includes a couple stormwater quality units to come up to Wayne County standard. So if this is approvable, this allows the township supervisor to sign the Wayne County maintenance permit and authorize the township supervisor and clerk to execute the storm drain agreement.
All righty. Any questions?
Will the property owner receive a notice that an easement has been filed on their property with Wayne County?
Yes,
They'll
because
get a copy.
once this agreement has been executed, a copy of it gets sent to the owner, and the owner uses this to go pick their bonds up from Wayne County.
And who sends this to the property owner?
Sherry does.
The building department.
Building department?
Department.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, we're going to entertain a motion. Mr. Heitman? Thank you. Motion's been made by Trustee Heitman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Clerk Vorba. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Dempsey.
Yes.
Trustee Dorchevitz. Supervisor Heisey.
Yes?
Trustee Heitman. Clerk Borba, yes. Treasurer Clinton.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. We're going to skip item F4 and move on to item F5. This is the Woods Storm Drain Agreement. Jeremy?
This is a storm drain agreement for a site condo development off of Ann Arbor Road, just west of Tennyson. It's a full storm infrastructure, detention pond, traditional site condo. So if this is approvable, again, this allows the township supervisor to sign the Wayne County maintenance permit and authorize the township supervisor and clerk to execute the storm drain agreement.
Okay.
This is the one across from Pioneer, right?
This is,
Hold on.
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, hold on.
Pioneer Middle School?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Walt
Yes.
Menard's.
Now, that project is not completed yet, so why are we doing this one versus the other one, which wasn't complete?
The storm water is complete, and so is the infrastructure. The other one was not complete from an infrastructure standpoint. There's still a hydrant that needs to be replaced.
Okay. Item F5, what does it look like in your agendas?
The resolution 2019-10-896.
Right here.
Okay. All right.
Are Ella Development and Menards Group, are they one and the same? I've never heard of Ella Development before.
That's why I was asking the question. I thought
Well, it's Menard's project. So.
But is there another shadow group that really owns it?
Well,
That owns
okay.
This will be eventually turned over to a homeowners association, right?
Yep.
This is L Development,
All
LLC.
Development, yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm not seeing everything in my copy of the agenda, but it looks like it's up on the big board, so I'm going to go with that. Am I the only one that doesn't have?
You're in F5, right?
Yeah. No, I got something totally different. So. Okay.
What do
We're gonna move on with this item. This is the item F5, the Woods Storm Drain Agreement. So I need a motion.
Mr. Supervisor,
Mr. Clerk.
I move to adopt resolution 2019-10-08-96, authorizing the township supervisor to sign the Wayne County permit M50767 and approve the storm drain agreement with LE Development LLC and authorize the township supervisor and clerk to sign same.
Motion's made by Clerk Vorva. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Heitman. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes?
Trustee Heitman. Clerk Borba, yes. Treasurer Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Dempsey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, very good. Next is item F6. This is the Polytech Storm Drain Agreement. Jeremy?
Polytech is an industrial development off of Halyard, which is in between Ridge and Beck, and 5 Mile and M14. This is a stormwater agreement for some storm infrastructure improvements and a manufactured treatment unit that outlets to an existing regional pond that's just behind the building.
Yeah, this is where earlier, within the past year, we created a district and then created a IFT for Polytech
Polytech, yeah.
because it's a brand new building.
Okay. Any other questions on this one? Need a motion?
Mr. Supervisor,
Clerk?
I move to adopt Resolution 2019-10-87-97, authorizing the Township Supervisor to sign Wayne County Permit M49619 and approve the storm drain agreement with Polytech, Inc., and authorize the Township Supervisor and Clerk to execute.
Motion's made by Clerk Vorva. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Heitman. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes?
Trustee Heitman. Clerk Borba, yes. Treasurer Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Dempsey.
Yes.
Trustee Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. Next up is item F7. This is the Polytech Water Main Easement Agreement. Jeremy?
This is the same development, water main easement providing water service to the proposed building, to the new building.
Okay, any questions or comments? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Mr. Supervisor,
Mr. Clerk?
I move to adopt Resolution 2019-10-08-98, authorizing Township Clerk, Township Attorney, and Township Engineer to sign the water main easement for Polytech, Inc., and to authorize the recording of same.
Very good. Is there a second? Second by Trustee Heitman. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Heitman. Yes. Clerk Borba, yes. Treasurer Clinton.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Dempsey.
Yes.
Trustee Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next is item F8. This is a purchase of the Jaws of Life. Fire Chief Dan.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well this fine October evening. We're finally starting to get some October weather as opposed to the hot, humid fall we've already been experiencing. Today, I'm here to talk about the Jaws of Life, which we discussed at the budget hearings earlier and also at the budget amendment hearings. I'm here before you we have Jaws of Life on our fire apparatus. We use them to free trap patients in car accidents. We also use them to free people from other entrapments, garage doors, chain link fences. One time we freed a patient from the meat counter at the Kroger's using extrication tools. In this case, we are looking to purchase a set of battery-operated pneumatic tools. These are tools that were formerly, some of our older tools, we used a gas-powered motor to move the liquid through the machine to articulate the arms back and forth. Now we use an electric battery to move that same fluid. It's much lighter, it's much stronger, and it can go anywhere. These devices can also be submergible in water, where our previous Jaws could not, because we have had to put our Jaws in water when we have cars off into the ditches. We have a long-standing history with the Hearst Manufacturing Company. All of the stuff we've had since the 70s has been Hearst. So we've got a lot of equipment already that matches this particular make and model that we can use with this make and model. That's why we chose to go with Hearst. They're reliable, and the current equipment that the Plymouth Township already has will continue to work here, so we don't have to have extra cost replacing equipment we already own and does not need to be replaced. These new tools also are greatly improved over our older Jaws, because our older Jaws do not meet the stringent crash test standards of the new vehicles. They've increased the boron steel in the A, B, and C pillars of cars for rollover protection. Because of it, our older Jaws cannot penetrate, can't cut through this, so it makes it harder for us to free entrapped patients. So that's why we need these Jaws. As you also know, I was attempting to get money from a Assistance to Firefighters grant to pay for these. Unfortunately, we were not successful in that grant. We were successful in 3 other grants, but that's why I'm coming before the board to purchase this. I would like to get this purchased before the snow starts flying this winter, because as you know, M14 and 275 become very interesting, and people forget how to drive when snow starts falling. The cost of this equipment, as you'll see in here, is $29,500. That will purchase a spreader, a cutter, a ram, which pushes things out of the way, and a electric plug that can hook up to the generator and the engine in the event of a battery failure. We have another set of Jaws just like this on engine 1 here that has been working well for us for the last 3 years, and we would put this unit out on ladder 3 at Fire Station 3, which is the primary response unit for the M14 corridor. As you know, the budget was added in the 2019, or the item was added in the 2019 amended budget, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the chief?
Are these 3 different devices, or is it modules?
These are 3 different devices that use the same batteries and use the same parts go on them and attach to them, so they're all interchangeable in different ways.
Do you have spare batteries in here?
Yes, spare batteries are part of the purchase price.
The package?
Yep. It comes with 1 battery and 1 spare battery for each unit. The unit we bought in the past, we are still using those batteries. They're actually a very well-designed 24-volt battery. We have not been able to get them to get to a section where we want to replace them. They have a 3-year warranty, and they've been holding up great.
Station 3 for recharging batteries? Is there a separate?
Actually, what we do is we mount the recharger directly on the fire truck, and the fire truck is plugged into the building so that as it's sitting there, everything on that is constantly being charged and kept up and ready to go. The plug that goes in the side of the engine has an auto ejector, so when they fire the engine up, the plugs shoot out the side.
So this is all set up for the new fire truck?
Yes.
This is compatible with that?
It absolutely is. Also, by going to a set of jaws like this that are battery powered, we did not have to purchase the hose reels that were necessary in engines of the past. It saved us about $24,000 in the cost of building that fire truck, or almost the entire cost of the jaws.
I'd like to make the motion when it's time, because I'm not satisfied with the draft that's in the packet.
You're what?
He wants to make his own motion.
Okay,
I don't like the draft motion. I want to make
very good.
what I think is a more accurate motion.
Okay, so any other questions on the item? Any other questions for the chief?
Just a comment that this $30,000 for this is also in the 2020 budget. Since we had to submit the packet last Thursday, I didn't get a chance to remove it. So this will be coming out of the 2020 budget.
Okay, very good. All right, Mr. Dempsey, I'm going to make a motion.
I move to adopt Resolution 2019-10-08-99, authorizing the purchase of a Hearst hydraulic Jaws of Life set in an amount not to exceed $29,500, and to authorize the supervisor and clerk to sign all required documents for this purchase.
Very good. Motion's made by Trustee Dempsey. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Trustee Heitman. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Clerk Vorba, yes. Treasurer Clinton?
Yes.
Trustee Kermy?
Yes.
Trustee Dempsey?
Yes.
Trustee Dorshevitz?
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey?
Yes,
Trustee Heitman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
very good.
Thank you.
Thank
That-
you.
Since the motion, the way it was constructed, that's probably the way we should, in the future, use that as a template, so it's more specific and direct.
I used a previous motion that we passed just before this, almost identically, so.
Okay.
Well, we got the job done, so thank you very much. Okay, it's a longstanding tradition of Plymouth Township to allow elected officials who represent us, whether they be in Lansing or Wayne County or the federal government, to come and give us a briefing on things that are going on within their jurisdiction. So even I was extended that courtesy when I was a state rep. So we would like to, at this time, ask our Congresswoman Haley Stevens to come forward for an update on what's going on in Washington, D.C. Come on up. And Jerry will assist you with the microphones, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Township Supervisor. It's a delight to be in Plymouth Township this evening, and what a remarkable community Plymouth Township is. I am your proud representative in Washington, D.C., and feel very lucky to have a position on the Education and Labor Committee, as well as a position on the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee, where I serve as a subcommittee chair for research and technology. And I think it's something all of us know all too well here in southeastern Michigan, which is really the lifeblood of our economy, is our innovation sector and our ability to continue to make, create, and sell to the world, which is also why I've been playing a role in the Congress to see that we get the best trade deal done, particularly the renegotiation of NAFTA, otherwise known as USMCA. I've had over 80 meetings with manufacturers, training centers, apprenticeship programs, and particularly our small and mid-sized manufacturers. This is what is on their mind, which is looking for the leadership and the stewardship and the consistency that will continue to move our economy forward. I also have a district office which is located in Wayne County, in Livonia at 7 in Newburgh, and I mention that because our district office is open to all, and our constituent services, our case management work, helping the constituents of Michigan's 11th district, should they have an issue that stands before the federal government or a federal agency like Social Security or the IRS. We just today have reached a new benchmark, which is that we put just about $630,000 back into the pocketbooks of the taxpayers and individuals who come to us with issues standing before the federal government. So let that be known. And I'll also say that I got to commend your leadership as a board, in particular you, Mr. Supervisor, with the MITC project. That is such a best in case example of what we do here in southeastern Michigan, which is that we are an international place for innovation and for manufacturing and industrial services. They have tried to count us out before, but it is something that all of us know all too well, which is that we best expectations. And so we really join forces with you in trying to see that project through and get your funding. I think all of us here can kind of recognize some of the frustrations of, being in an incredible district that pays its taxes and has got, a nice healthy economy, but yet when the time comes for us to receive our fair share of federal funding, we don't get it. And I've conducted an analysis of the U.S. Department of Transportation and the dollars that, just don't get allocated to Plymouth Township and that 5-mile stretch of roadway. So I served in the United States Department of Commerce in the Economic Development Administration. All of your work in economic development and being so laser focused on doing this from the bottom up and with all the stakeholders and the businesses and the nonprofits and the community actors that play such a role will also help us to achieve that goal. But my sleeves are rolled up with you. This is why I have worked with the Department of Transportation. I've reached out to them and asked for the secretary to come in, and if she can't make it, we'd like to see somebody else come in as well. So, we are truly here to, and I am, to make Washington work for our district. Carrying in that voting card representing 700,000 people, that's an incredible honor, and I know who I represent. I, grew up in this district. I'm from Oakland County, but, we got Oakland County in the district as well, and I'm a proud graduate of Seaholm Public High School. So this evening, I wanted to also present to you a flag that has been flown over the nation's capital in honor of Plymouth Township, and we'd like to add this to your collection for you guys to continue to wave. We're, so proud of your police and fire departments. I had a great experience this summer spending time with your fire department and just caught the tail end of the presentation here, and obviously there's a lot of great leadership and the incredible police force. Oh my gosh, I think there's been, some movies made, oopsie, I knocked over the mic, there's been a movie made after your police chief, and that just shows you how we continue to attract talent here in southeastern Michigan. So thank you all so much for your leadership, Mr. Township Supervisor. I'm going to present this flag to you, if that's okay with you at this
that'd be
time.
great.
Okay, thank you.
May we ask you a question before you leave?
Yeah,
Once
and
you present
actually,
it.
I had one more announcement as well. On October 25th, I'm the subcommittee chair on house science, and obviously some of the great leadership that your supervisor has shown on the Conference of Western Wayne and some of the challenges that we've been seeing. And again, it's who's shouldering the cost? Well, it's our, a lot of times it's our municipalities and our taxpayers. So we've seen some changes in recycling, and I've been able to, hold a hearing on recycling technology, and now I'm bringing the committee here to talk about smart cities technologies for suburban communities. So that's going to take place the morning of October 25th in Livonia, and we'd love to have our community come out for that. It's going to be bipartisan, and I'll tell you, some of the best things that happen, are on that science committee, where it's Midwesterners who really have a great focus on their regional economy. So
One of the things that, as you mentioned before, that is very high on our list of funding priorities is the MITC, which is the 5-mile corridor between Beck Road and Napier that we share with Northville Township. And the MITC authority was created last year. It's a one-of-a-kind brownfield authority between 2 townships and the state of Michigan Land Bank. We know that the federal government, the administration, has made available lots of money for road and infrastructure projects that spur economic development and create jobs. So, in local government, you don't get a lot of asks of Washington, D.C., but this is certainly one that, as you know, is very high on our list, and I think would help jumpstart the redevelopment of that 5-mile corridor as an engine for jobs and economic development, and most importantly, to finally rehabilitate the old eyesore, which was Dahoko Prison. I got the money from the state to tear that prison down, and now we need to take it to the next level, and let's fix 5-mile road. I'm not going to say the darn road, but let's fix 5-mile road, and let's make that a real showcase for all of Western Wayne County. So.
And really, it's one of the reasons why we're so enthusiastic to get Department of Transportation officials to come out. The White House has offered its assistance as well to get some of the administration's appointees out here, because it's got to be a hand-holding approach, right? I mean, this is something that I saw at the Economic Development Administration, is that we want our communities to succeed. We want them to get access to those dollars. And boy, I mean, just what an incredible story. So know that I'm in the trenches here with you, and thank you so much for always having my district team. And Charlie, I know you had a question too.
One thing that's important to this district is the new U.S., Canada, Mexico trade agreement.
Yeah, as I
Will you be
discussed.
willing to give us a short status and some timing of when it really will be voted on?
Yeah. Well, I have just talked to House leadership and made that request. And I made the same request in August, which was, please bring this bill to the floor. I, have been very optimistic and encouraged by the conversations that I have had around this district, and I know how important it is. And I'm going to tell everybody in the room something. We so often see in Washington, who's scoring points for Democrats or Republicans and this and that. I'm not in that business. We got to score points for our region. We've absolutely got to score points for our regional economy. And this trade deal, I mean, I've had executives look me in the face and say, we need this certainty. Because if you understand the manufacturing economy and representing, the largest collection of suppliers in the country, right? These small and mid-sized manufacturers in particular, they need that certainty to make investment decisions. This isn't 3 or 4 month planning cycles. So, I would like to see us vote on something, and get the labor enforcements in there. That's obviously a critical part of the deal. We want the best deal for our manufacturing economy and for our workforce. And that Buy American provision that is in USMCA is very exciting, and it's a place where we would like to see the jobs come back to the United States and come back to a region like ours. We're primed for it. So thank you so much for asking about that.
What is that?
Any other questions from the board?
Yes, I think you said the committee was Science and Technology.
Yeah.
What does that committee do?
Our Science, Space, and Technology Committee, our committees have authorizing oversight abilities. We're writing bills on sustainable chemistry, recycling technology, R&D. We do a lot of studying on basic research. We have oversight of the National Institute of Standards and Technologies, which has come up with our standards for a multitude of companies as well as different university sectors. So it's a great bipartisan committee that really plays a big role. The space part as well is been so important as we, here we are 50 years since we, landed on the moon, the year 2019, we celebrated that anniversary. And then the question becomes, well, what's the next 50 years? So to have somebody from Michigan on that committee who can say to everybody, guess what's happening in a place like where I represent? Electric vehicles, that's another big thing that we've been working on as well. The future of work in the digital age, what that means for our workforce and where we're going to continue to create jobs and grow. I would encourage everybody to go to the House Science Committee's website and download some of our hearings and look at who I serve with on that committee, because it's a man named Dr. Jim Baird, who's my ranking member on research and technology. And this is a gentleman who served in the Vietnam War. He lost his arm. He's a PhD scientist. He ran a farm. He served in the state senate in Indiana. He represents the Purdue area. And this is truly some of the best things in government, seeing how Jim and I are working together on our country's research agenda. Thank you for asking that question.
Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I have
Yeah,
one
Gary.
question. You mentioned all these great things for jobs. Now, I'm economic development. I need people to go into these jobs. What pieces are you doing to help? Maybe it's part of the science, because I've got a lot of job openings in Plymouth Township.
Yeah, I hear you. The 2 million job openings in the skilled trades, all the effort that we're putting in to training the next generation. Dr. Baird and I co-sponsored a bill, put together a bill called the Building Blocks of STEM Act, which is not new dollars, but it's a reallocation of dollars from the National Science Foundation saying invest at an early age so that we have that continuity of educational opportunities in these jobs that we need filled. I know, Mr. Heisey, that the township also has job openings, and our municipalities are shouldered with, trying to find that talent. And it's something in Michigan that we're in a good clip on, but it really takes an all-of-government approach, and it takes us working with our municipalities, our state government, as well as the nonprofits and the charitable arms of companies that are investing in those job training programs. So part of also what we're doing on education and labor is looking at the investments in apprenticeship programs, our community colleges. I was just over at Accenture in Livonia, and talk about a best practice. They're finding people with skilled trades and putting them in 12-week boot camps in, the digital engineering and technologies into computers, and now they got another skill, and now they're a secondary part of our innovation economy. So, there's a lot that we can do, and I certainly appreciate you raising that question, because it's very, very near and dear to my heart. We are in a race for that technology talent, and we here in Michigan, from our schools up in Milford all the way down here to Plymouth, we're doing that work, and we want to make sure you guys have the resources, not only on the future side, but also the existing worker side, and what we see with this on-the-job training and supporting large and small companies to train their workforce for the transformations in the workforce. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your dedication to the app.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to come give you the flag.
Oh, yeah, come on up.
I'm not leaving it up.
Okay, all
Thank you,
right.
Mr. Township Supervisor.
All right.
Thank you all so much, and thank you for your leadership. Definitely paying attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stopping by.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Congressman, for stopping by. Okay, next is item F9, budget discussion. We're going to go up to the big board, and Mark is going to walk us through the PowerPoint.
So we use the documents that are hard copy on the table or the ones in the
I
packet?
think we're going to use, Mark, what do you want to do?
No, we will, Bob, if you can scroll down to the PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, yeah.
Great, thank you. So I've put an updated version of the budget on everybody's desk, along with some documents just to help you digest it. This is version 5. The changes are getting smaller and fewer between. But I put together this slide deck just so we could discuss and touch on the departments that we haven't talked about yet.
I think your wife is signaling for you. No?
Wave back.
When
All
it
right.
comes to his wife or me
Hey,
going through a budget,
Thank
he
you for
wants to hear the
staying
budget.
with us. That's awesome.
So what page in the PDF are we on then?
139.
So in previous meetings, we've already discussed law enforcement, communications, fire, clerk, and elections. So what we're going to do now is just, and I put together a page for each of the remaining departments, and we can go in as much discussion and detail as you'd like, but I thought I'd use this at least to guide the discussion. The first one, the Township Board, we have allocated in the budget, as you can see from a capital perspective, a laptop. So Bob, that 1930 model that you have there will hopefully be discontinued, and then a new sound system that will not only be better, be better in this room, but better for the audio when it goes out over the broadcast.
Now, the sound system qualifies for PEG funds, right?
Correct.
And we have the PEG funds available?
Yes, lots.
Lots of
So
big funds.
20,000 doesn't seem like a lot for a sound system. What are you guys going to do exactly?
Well, we're going to get rid of these things and hopefully go to a gooseneck
A
system.
gooseneck and you're right, and of course, get bids on all of this.
This will be the third sound system in this building, right?
No.
Well, we did some upgrades.
Yeah, we've always had these, but there was some tweaking, the infrastructure electronics, there were some changes. But
So
it's
now
not-
we're going to scrap it all, or it's an upgrade?
Well, this is going to be an upgrade and kind of go along with what we've got in the back room.
But how'd you get to the 20,000? Is that a order of magnitude, or do you have?
We talked with Bob and of course, some people who've been working on this equipment over the Phillips over the past several years. And this was an estimate that they thought would fulfill the need that we really need.
Okay.
We can make it more. We can make it higher.
No,
for
I'm
budget
just,
purposes.
Oh, we need to make
Just
it
doesn't
right.
seem like a lot,
We've had
does it?
consultants in here before that told us it would be right.
If we're going to do it, make sure we do it right.
Let's do it right, yeah.
Absolutely.
In the supervisor's department, we have already started to use the services of a part-time payroll processor. This is the first time that they will be completely loaded into the budget for a full year, and that runs $21,060 per year.
How is it working out? What's the status?
It's working better than what we were doing.
Well, I still keep hearing complaints from department heads.
There's still some issues that are being worked out, but it's working better than having the
original
Echo-
contract.
Right, exactly. This is working better.
We still, the business as usual stuff is working great, but we keep getting stuff thrown at us that are kind of one-time events. Like when we, the opt-out where we had to change the way we did that threw people into a tizzy. So, I mean, the day-to-day, week-to-week stuff is great, but we've got to,
Well, you were going to have opt-out again next year.
yeah, but now we know how to do it this time.
Well, we had tax implications last year, which now we know how to handle.
So do those people have their checks and the tax implications are all settled
They're settled.
completely? All right.
Yes.
All right, next one. This is Bob Jenks' department. You can just see some of the capital requests that he's asking for, some of the,
Who are the laptops for?
I don't know.
Are they lease or buy? They look like they're buy at $2,000 a piece.
Capitals, and then he's got a lease down at the bottom.
Capitals, yeah.
Pardon? So we don't know what it is. Somebody will get back with us.
Yeah, we can find out from
The
Bob what
boardroom gets the
his,
cheap one, 1,700.
he did tell us, he told us at one point, but
We get 1,700.
not sure what they're for now.
That's a pretty high-end laptop.
Yeah, that $2,000 is
2,000.
I know,
that's a
high-end.
Cadillac.
It's a
Yeah.
budget, I mean, it's a budget.
Well, obviously, the firewall switches and all of the rest of the securities must be loaded on these.
I'm sorry, what about security is loaded on these?
It's got to be pretty much just for use of security and firewall.
Well, we need to beef up our security to make certain that we are
Absolutely.
protected from ransomware as much as possible.
So what is security training software then? What is it, do you know?
I don't.
Security training software.
It's probably to allow him the training that he needs to either monitor it or install it, but it's something internal, right, Bob? I mean, you're in IT.
Well, I don't know.
You don't know.
You just rearranged the three words.
It's software for security training,
It's software
training for
that does training.
security on software.
Is it going to train everybody in this building?
I doubt
on
it. No, I think
security?
it's more for him and Mike.
Wow.
Okay.
Assessing, it's business as usual in the assessing department.
I have a question, or not a question, a comment. There's usually a not usually, there is a requirement that the assessing department check to see, using statistics, and that they are assessing at the correct level. In some cases, with the rapid rise in values in Plymouth Township, I have the hypothesis that we're under assessing. So are they going to do the test, the check, that they're normally is part of their contract?
Yeah, it's
And
all
who's-
part of the
who's
Wayne
making
Co-
sure they're
It's
doing
all
it?
part of the Wayne County assessing process. So Wayne County does.
When you say
they
Wayne County,
implement.
you mean government or Wayne County assessing?
Wayne County government and
No,
Wayne
each
assessing.
municipality has to do their own study.
But you get the information from Wayne County.
No,
Yeah.
we do our own homework and compare our selling prices and field sheets on a sample. And I think we're under assessing in many areas because some houses have risen very quickly, and the SEV, they're not, when they uncap, they're not uncapping to nearly the level that they were sold for. So I have mentioned this to the assessor. He said he was going to look at it, but we need to, Kurt's his boss, we need to find out if they're going to do the test, the
That's
check.
part of be careful what you wish for, because you could end up with a sizable tax increase on people if we were to do a township-wide.
Well, we just had one, we voted it on ourselves, but I'm talking about
No, you're
assessment.
talking about something totally different.
Well,
You're talking
assessment,
about
we have-
reassessing homes and properties, and I will tell you that could
It's
result.
expensive.
But we do that it's a routine thing that's part of, assessing is talked about a lot this year because of some new laws that were passed
Yeah.
last year in December.
But you can hire companies who will come out and do a reassessment
Reassessing.
as well.
But we already got a company that does our homework. I mean, they're us, they're our assessor. They are looking at it, but they need to maybe come back and tell us what they're doing to be certain that our assessments are accurate. There's a state law, they need to be accurate, 50% of the value.
Section 9.3 of the Constitution.
Very good.
What, the 1963 Constitution, is that where it was set?
Section 9.3 of the state constitution, 50% of the true cash value.
Thank you. Mark Clinton.
All right, Township Hall and Grounds, two capital requests for this year. One is to build a storage closet in the main room of the Friendship Station. Got an estimate of $10,000 for that, and to put a new sign up for $2,500.
These two things, in my opinion, could be cut out. I mean, $2,500 sign. What for?
So our seniors know where their
What?
facility is.
So they know where to go? There already is a sign.
It's falling apart, and
Yeah,
most of our signs were falling apart, and we've been slowly replacing them throughout the township now for several years.
$2,500? Wow.
That's actually a pretty good deal because they refurbished the one that's there right now. That's what they've been doing.
And a
So all
$10,000
the others.
closet. Tell us what is it?
Well, it's, if you go.
2x4s or?
It's inside the building. And as you remember, the Friendship Station is an old church. So the far end of the wall where the pulpit would have been, there's a small closet there right now that they use for miscellaneous items. They'd like to just build across, and then to the right, to the exit door, that would more than triple the size of what they have right now, and they just need it for additional storage space. Because we're offering a lot of programs there now, and they need storage for all of the athletic equipment and seasonal items and things like that. Okay.
Next department, Bob? All right, so this is general operating. This is probably the one that will be most impactful and generate the most questions. But a lot of this, as you'll see, is technology related. The reason it's in general operating is that it benefits everybody across all departments. It's not restricted to our IT department. Let me start at the bottom and then work my way up, because I think you're familiar with these already. We've already talked about that we have to write off the golf course loan. We're doing that over 5 years to the tune of $199,000 a year. That's in the budget. A building maintenance fund, put in $25,000 for police, 25 for police, 25 for fire, and 25 for general government, for a total of $75,000. We're going to continue to fund the OPEB trust to the tune of $1 million this year. That's part of the corrective action plan that we've already agreed to. And then let's talk a little bit about some of these technology requests. But before I get specific, let me talk a little bit in generalities. We have, I think for a long time, and I think you've probably felt it as well as I have, is that we're not in the technology business, right? We're a municipal government, and we've been in the technology business, meaning we have an email server, and we have software that we load on all the computers, and we have our own phone system that we support and maintain. So we have Bob Jenks spread. We have our own data center here where we have servers, and they have software on them, and they need uninterruptible power supplies. So we're in the business of IT, but when you look at the direction that people are moving in technology today, is consultants will come in and do an evaluation to determine what is core to your business and what is context to your business. Is email and a phone system and servers, et cetera, core to our business? And the answer is no, because we can outsource that and anybody can do that. And that's the way that the technology trend is moving, is people are basically renting that service in the cloud. That's the direction that we would like to take. There are really two, and I've talked about this with Bob Jenks, two things that we have to, are core to our business. That's the 911. When people call up, they better get the dispatch center and they better be able to respond accordingly. And the second is our BSA system that we use every single day in every single department. We have to make sure that those things never go down. So those are the two things that are core to our business. The rest, I think we should, from a strategy standpoint, start to rent that versus buy it. Because what you've been seeing during the budget requests over time is this server is end of life, end of support. This software is end of life, end of support. This phone system is end of life, end of support. The battery pack that we bought is end of life, end of support. So if we don't buy a new one, then they're not going to support us anymore. So we haven't done the best job in terms of preparing ourselves for that end of life, end of support scenario. But moving forward, I would like to take some of those things and move them to the cloud and lease versus buy. Make sense?
So these capital requests are it's really leases.
So if you go through these one at a time, go ahead, Bob, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so in general, I agree with everything that you've just said, particularly, as it relates to, core functions or non-core functions. The downside of that is that it's the problem that you've articulated is exactly right. There was never any life cycle planning done effectively. The downside of that is that you never stop paying. So when you go to a cloud model, you write a check every month. It's like a utility payment. And everybody just needs to be aware of that. Whereas if you buy a system, you might have $500,000 in capital outlay right now, and you depreciate it over 3 or 5 years, and then you don't have an ongoing payment other than support, and the board just needs to be aware of that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, if you have to cut costs,
it's a run rate issue, because the run rate doesn't
right.
Your run rate hits here, and it never It never goes down.
So what we did in the past was just, when money got tight, you would defer making the purchase. You can't do that now when you essentially turn it into a monthly payment.
But the positive side of it, as Mark pointed out, is that you got somebody else managing it. I think it was really good how you pointed out what are the tier 1 or critical apps, which are 911 and the BSNA. The cost never goes away versus you pay it off. It's like leasing a car versus buying it.
So going at these just quickly, Office 365, that's all of the Microsoft applications. That's Word, that's Excel, et cetera. Today we load that on individual machines. In the future, we'd like to put that in the cloud on a subscription basis. Also, that's Exchange. That's the email system. Same thing. Get it off of our prem and put it out in the cloud. That's a one-time setup cost of $9,000 and then an annual lease payment of roughly $15,000.
It's not actually a lease, right? It's an OpEx payment.
Yeah.
It's not actually a lease.
We're leasing it, correct. It's not, we're not renting to buy it.
Yeah.
What did you call it? It was a technical word. What'd you call it?
OpEx, operational expense.
The phone system, we've had this in the budget for a couple of years, but we're at the point again with this phone system. It's an old phone system. It's probably one of the last non-IP phone systems in the state. It's end of life, end of support, meaning if that switch breaks, we don't have a phone system anymore. And what we want to do is move that to a cloud-based solution. So the same thing is we're paying a monthly fee per device, per phone, to a service provider, and then we'll get our phone service. And obviously, the functionality of the phones is significantly better than it was when we purchased this switch 25 years ago.
And then so the software actually runs in the data centers, and it's always going to be current. How frequently do they replace the instruments, did they say, or do you know?
Well, we can go on a 3 or a 5-year lease basis. And if we go 5 years, it's cheaper. It's roughly right now about between $25, depending on the device, $25 and $30 per month per device.
And that includes the whole
everything.
Banana.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it also makes us compliant or near compliant with the new 911 regulations.
You say
So we
explain
will-
what the new 911 regulations are.
Well, because it allows us now, when you call 911, that you will be able to know exactly what room in this building it is coming from. Yeah.
There's 2 new laws that have come out. One's called Carey's Law that goes into effect February 2020. What Carey's Law says is that you have to be able to dial 911 instead of, like in some buildings, 9 to get an outside line, so you can't force 911. You also have to have, and that's Carey's Law is federal, and you have to have location information, so it's not enough to say that it's calling from your business address. It has to say where in the building you're at. And then the second law, E911, the state law, goes into effect December 31st of 2020. And that specifically talks about location information. So let's say, for example, that you call from within, I'll make something up, Ford Motor Company from World Headquarters. Normally what might happen is the 911 center would just show the street address. This has to say, it has to have a reason, it has to be a location that a first responder can reasonably identify. So it's 3rd floor, north quadrant, and it has to be down to 7,000 square feet. So I just spent an enormous amount of time in research.
Now this is grandfathered, old systems.
No, it's applying to old systems too.
No, my point is, if a business already has a system, they're required to update it?
Maybe.
Are you certain? That's unusual. When it
Just had a meeting with the Michigan State Police 2 days ago.
Yeah, I know, maybe that's what they say, but what the law says is what really matters.
What the law says.
So businesses are going to be required to update?
Yep.
I don't think they know that.
The law, well, The law was originally passed in 2007, and then it was delayed and delayed, and it was delayed again this year. Governor just signed it about a month ago, one more year.
And certainly as a public building, we want to have that.
Absolutely.
That ability.
I mean, from a first responder's perspective, so, there's two perspectives. From a first responder's perspective, yes. From a business owner's perspective, it gets a little bit more dicey, because it can be onerous. I mean, trust me.
With
on
three
this
old
one.
guys like you three here.
Well, I mean, in Bob's business with how many facilities do you have?
8 hospitals and I get 70,000 phones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy cow. And I don't know all the numbers.
You don't. You have fax machines too, right? You got fax machines?
Tons of fax
There you go.
machines.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Pagers.
Let's move
Well,
around.
do we have a written technology plan? Or this is a major migration, so who's writing it down? Who's got it written down?
Nobody has it written down.
Nobody
we're
has it
doing
written down, but we're going to spend the money. We
Yeah.
need to have a path forward, right?
Okay. Well, you can talk to Bob Jenks about that. We've been working on this for more than a year now, and we think this is the right path.
So what you do is you write it down then. You should be able to take 5 minutes to write it down.
The Office 365, if again, this stuff is end of life, end of support, so, which means we don't get any new hardware, we don't get any new software, we don't get any maintenance, so if it crashes and it's gone. In order to get a new server, new software licenses to get us current, that would be a little over $45,000. So we can write a one-time check for $45,000 and then pay maintenance on that every year, or we can go to this leasing model. The phone system, we had quotes anywhere from, call it roughly $120,000 to buy a new phone system to replace the one that we have.
Wow.
So do we have a plan? No, I think, the plan is better than it was, which is we got to wait, we got to pull it off the budget, and then you run into the situation where everything is unsupported and it costs you a lot of money to replace it. So this is why I think the strategy or the plan is to take these non-mission critical types of applications and rent them from the cloud. And then you never have to worry about them again.
Yeah, it sounds like a great idea, but I think you need to have a little roadmap written down somewhere.
We've talked about this for a couple of years now with Bob, and the three of us sat down and did our own brainstorm on this, and this is kind of our best.
But how do you set your priorities of what to do first? And, that's part of the plan.
You realize the cost of the other way.
Part of the problem is we've been deferring these costs for the last couple of years to try to.
No, that's not my point. I'm just talking about planning, technical planning. But all right, but it's not all right. But
I'll go through these other three real quickly. The cloud backup, what our backup system is today is that at the end of every week and at the end of every day, Bob makes a backup tape and he brings it home off-site.
Yeah.
The challenge with that, and this is what keeps me up at night, is if you think about when we're processing transactions every single day here, water bills, tax payments, permits, etc. If that database were to crash, we'd have to back it up to the previous version, which was the end of last night, and we'd have to recreate all that work. What this backup system allows us to do is we can set it so it's constantly, real-time, backing up our data, so if we do have some type of systematic crash, we don't lose a day's worth of work. This is something we just have to do. We got to get in the 20th century in terms of how we do backup, restart, recovery.
The other thing to consider is whether you can do a drill at some point in the next year or so, because, the old joke is making backups is easy. It's restores that are hard.
Right.
Yeah.
And just because you have a backup doesn't mean you can restore it unless you've tested it.
Well, it brings up a great point, which leads us to the UPS replacement, right? The theory is if we lose power here, the UPS will kick in and bring our servers in the data center, keep enough juice alive so that we can bring those down nice, and then it'll kick over to the generator that we have. Twice it happened, and twice it failed. And what happened was we lost data in the assessing group. We lost the 911 system for a while, and those are the those are the mission-critical things you just can't
You can't
have
lose
happen.
those, yeah.
We're
So-
at the point with the UPS again that it's end of life, end of support, so if anything goes wrong with that, we're in trouble.
So what will happen under this new system? We expend the 75,000 in 1 year, and what will happen? What does the system look like?
It's a combination of hardware and software. It's batteries and it's intelligence.
Batteries here on site,
Batteries here on site in the data center,
and then there's some software.
which basically can sense that there's a power interruption, and boom, it kicks over immediately into the battery. And then boom, it'll kick over immediately into the generator, and then boom, revert the process.
It runs in line, Chuck, so it also conditions power, so it protects you against spikes. So it runs in line, and as soon as the source cuts off, the battery just continues, but it sends a signal to the server to begin shutting itself down. So you can get a graceful shutdown once it starts to deplete. So the UPS is not intended to be a long-term power source. It's only intended to keep things running smoothly until the generator can kick in.
So less than 2 or 3 minutes. Really, it should be 2 or 3 seconds.
Usually, it depends. You size them. What's it sized for? Do you know?
I don't.
20 minutes or so? 20 is pretty, 20 or 30, or sometimes longer.
Our generator kicks in faster than that, Chief. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
No, it's basically how long will those batteries
It
keep
takes the
us alive?
time to fire up and kick up to full power and get to a nice smooth voltage that can handle the sensitive electronics.
Okay.
So to give you an example from a hospital, at Royal Oak, we have more than 300 closets that have network gear in it. Every one of them has UPS in them. And then if any of them fails, it kicks into the generators. More than 300 closets.
How often do you do tests on those?
Hey, you can't.
Because I'm going back to your
Turn the
question.
camera off,
That's,
please.
No, I'm going back to your question, and basically,
Yeah.
I think we need to
All
do
the
this,
time.
right?
That's confidential,
All the
yeah.
time.
But yeah,
but
we need to do that.
We definitely need to turn the power off and say, all right, what's going to happen? Instead of having it go off and us going, oh, what do we do now?
Yeah.
And that's got to be in the plan, whatever this plan is, that's got to be there. We got
You
to
got to exercise.
well, during an election would be a bad time to have it happen.
Yeah, thanks, yeah.
You're gonna-
Well, that's why you have an election
right.
coming. I don't know when you're going to get this in place, but whatever we have now, we need to be watching it real closely to make sure it limps along and survives until this
3 times a
new
year.
data center uninterrupted power source comes on.
Yeah, amen.
Okay, Mark.
So, and then the last one, I think we talked about it last week, is our fob system. Again, that's no longer, it's not even, I don't believe it's going to work, is it?
So,
Chief, do you know if the fob system, does that,
so I couldn't get in tonight to do the bills because my fob wasn't working. So either that's a coincidence,
Well,
or have I been terminated?
now, Bob, we're going to talk after that.
yeah. But no, so that's the gist of it. We've spent a lot of time on this, but I think the key takeaways are, because we haven't had a diligent life cycle plan, because all of these things hit us and they're in the life end of support and we've got a replacement or else, and this systematic move that people are moving things to the cloud, I think this is the right approach, and I think it'll give us predictable spend, and it'll eliminate those peaks and valleys of buying and then riding it for 5 or 6 or 7 years.
Till it breaks, and then all of a sudden, we've got to make dumb decisions because it's quickly.
Sure, yeah.
I agree.
You don't have to worry about this breaking because it's in your contract. They back it up.
That's
They
right.
take care of it.
The only thing we need is an internet connection to them, that's it.
Okay. We're going to move on, Mark?
Move on.
Good.
Sure.
Building department, I believe we've talked about this already. I think this is our only additional headcount request, which would be kind of an assistant to Sherry who she can teach the ropes. And believe me, she needs the help.
This is a
we're
person
busy.
intended to replace her when she retires?
Well, we
Or-
don't want to assume that, but this is a person who would be a backup to Sherry, who would learn the system that she operates, the various permitting system software, and just know the ropes of what goes on in the building department.
If you come and watch,
You got it.
if you come and watch her, she is nonstop. She comes in at 7:30 and gets everything going so that when that first contractor walks through the door, they usually bust in just behind us. and she is nonstop until she takes a break for lunch. She doesn't even take breaks for anything else. I mean, she doesn't take a 15-minute break after a couple hours and one in the afternoon. She is nonstop, and it's a critical spot. And we're bringing in all kinds of contract work.
And if Sherry, wins the lottery and leaves us, then we're in big trouble. So we need to have some backup.
So no buying lottery tickets for Sherry.
We don't allow it.
And then I think it's the last one, Bob. I think.
So this will be paid for out of
The building.
building fees, which are starting to exceed
$1 million.
our costs.
Yeah, we're actually over $1 million in building permits.
Although the amount of building today is very small compared with the 1980s and 90s. Sure. So I don't know what the head count was in those days. Everything was paper in those days.
There was a lot more people.
And then these are the requests for the park department, the K. Arnold Pavilion. Our share was bumped from this year to next year. Soccer nets, $15,000, a bike rack, $2,500, and a new commercial lawnmower for the park was quoted at $10,000.
Tell me about,
What happened to the one that Mitchell stole? Did we ever get it back?
I think that was a gator. I'm not sure it had blades on it.
We still have it.
so this pavilion is at Miller Park,
Yeah,
correct?
let's not call it a pavilion. It is a picnic shelter.
Picnic shelter.
And this is the one that would be at Miller Park.
And commercial,
Soccer nets are needed out at Lake Point soccer fields. The current ones we are repairing them. We repaired them, but it's a short-term fix. They're old, they're falling apart, there's holes in them, and they're also being chewed up by the trees. So we have to go out there next year and trim the trees because the trees are interfering with the nets and causing damage.
so this is our responsibility, even though we have that contract with the rain.
Yeah, because this is something that's way beyond their capability. I mean, this is soccer field infrastructure that we have to be responsible for.
And where will the bike racks be placed?
Township Park, I think that was, Jack, was that the plan?
I think we talked about spreading several racks in several parks, actually.
Okay.
So this would be like a 8 or 10 bike rack, and I can't remember the details, but it's either like 5 for 500 each or 10 for 250 each, something like that, to meet part of the recreation survey, citizens council, all of that feedback where we should be doing more for bicycling.
So since we're on park, I have a couple of things that I'd like you to consider adding. One, these are no cost, is paint the new fascia boards. Get that in the budget, so somebody doesn't say it's not in the budget. I think it can be done with probably less than $100. The storage building on the west side is missing a large section of gutter. It's causing a lot of erosion. Need to have that fixed. It's a special gutter. It's not the kind of gutter you can buy from Home Depot. So gutter repair on storage building. We should be consider buying a branch chipper, a big one, and maybe considering sharing it with the golf course. They have a lot of brush, and they have to typically, I think, hire a dumpster, or they just throw it in the woods. But we need to think about, if we can't buy one, we got to have some money in there to rent one.
How much do they cost?
I don't know. They're probably $20,000 or $30,000, I would guess, but they're an expensive piece of machinery.
I would have to check with the park staff to see what they do right now. I know we have trees that go down, big branches that fall off, and we've had it happen at Miller Park, and I know that we're not just dumping it someplace. So either we're renting a chipper or we're maybe coordinating with some other community.
I do recall and maybe this is off point, but in reviewing the bills in 1 month, we had to use an outside tree company to chip and do some tree trimming over by Township Park. So I don't know what the cost was.
This
they
is a
give us-
classic make-buy. The costs of renting or hiring, and also the golf course there'd be a synergy, because the golf course, I think, has the same need.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to the golf course first before we do that, because we may have some other shared maintenance that we'd like to pursue with them. That is, you may recall, that is one of our goals for this calendar year. Time is running out, but we did want to talk about sharing or privatizing certain maintenance services at the park. And that's kind of been an ongoing discussion. We deferred that discussion for the most part this year because we wanted to give the new golf course operators a chance to get their feet on the ground. But I think it's time to start that discussion, and maybe some of these small items like a chipper might be a good way to just restart that
Start the
dialogue.
conversation.
I wonder if it would be possible to make some kind of service like that available to residents, like that have to take a tree down.
Whoa. I don't want to get into that.
That's a liability.
That's a lot of work and a liability.
I
Sounds
don't
like a
know,
snow
but
machine.
Yeah, I had to do it, and
It's expensive, isn't it?
It is
pardon?
It's expensive
very expensive.
to have branches and trees taken down on your private property. And one other item, which I know is a little bit, this may be early, is put $3,000 in there to do some maintenance on the wood play structure.
Yeah, 3,000 doesn't seem like it would. Well, what
Well,
happened?
it's replacing boards
About
meeting
five-
some of the ADA, or
Yeah,
not
but about-
ADAs, some of the safety ideas that were brought up by the,
About 5 years ago, one of the former full-time people that the treasurer had it redone, but he didn't know what he was doing, and he had him stain over without
Changing the
washing,
I mean, without prep.
without prepping,
Oh, God.
and it was a disaster.
So I think that could be done pretty easily.
There's a lot of
Boards.
obvious maintenance items that need to be done. Boards that have fallen through, replaced, bird nests that need to be filled up and whatnot, so.
I know it gets used.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
and we got to get wood chips in there too. That.
Oh, yeah, the wood chips, we forgot about
We
that.
had that chipper.
I don't know how much that costs.
There you go. We need a chip.
But if we don't put it in the budget, my judgment is it won't get done.
Is that a kind of a placeholder, or do you think that'll do the job?
3,000 is just a placeholder for the,
But to keep it on
that
our,
doesn't include the wood chips. The wood chips, I imagine, will be very expensive.
that keeps it on our radar screen. That's what
Yeah.
you're.
The wood chips, like he said, it could be 3,000 by itself.
You want to make it 5?
Yeah, let's put 5 in then. But the wood chips, there's a specification. You just can't buy them from your neighbor.
Okay. Mark, what's up? What's next? Okay. So the handouts, Mark, that you gave us tonight are,
So the first thing,
what's the
Cheat sheets.
background here?
the first page is just a cheat sheet. So the version you have now is version 5. These are the changes that have taken place between version 4 and version 5.
Throw the others away.
This is, what you have in front of you is the most current package for everything, so you can throw everything else away.
Oh, beautiful.
So we've,
From a headcount management, I think somebody should still be working on the FTE count so that we can manage it for the future. I know we've interrupted that for the last 5 or 6 years or 4 years or whatever, but having that as a tool will be useful.
well, we're pretty bare bones right now around here.
No,
so
but no,
I
not,
can-
not to cut stuff, just so we know what we've got. And then if we make a change, it would be a way to track it. But that chart, which I wish
I mean, we have a personnel chart. We're always updating that.
that's
We
an
can
org
give
chart,
you-
but this was like I'm trying to imagine what it was like. Bob, it had .5s and ones on
It's
it.
by position, it's not by
It was
name.
it was included in the audit. It was a fold-out inside the audit
It was in the audit. Do you know about what year?
for several years in a row. You could go back and look at the audit books.
We probably should, but eventually when we get finance director or something, they could maybe pick
Yeah.
that up.
It was an org chart, and it had the FTEs for each department. But it was a fold-out inside the audit.
So then, Mark, you've got here capital improvement equipment requests, 2020 budget version 5. You've got, I see here, new. So off to the right, if it's new, these are all things that we have.
Which
either
page are you on?
discussed
That was
tonight.
added, the new ones were added from version 4 to version 5.
Yeah,
And you can see some were actually deleted.
got it. And then your second document here is general fund 2020 revenue projections.
It's just, this
A
is,
little tweaked a little bit.
this is just the way I like to view revenue, and I just keep throwing it in here, but it gives you a better sense for what's one-time
Where
versus
is this?
recurring versus fee-for-service.
And then the final big package is then the budget report calculations as of 8/31.
Yep.
That's dated 10/2/2019. So that is also version 5.
That's version 5.
Good.
Yeah, so throw everything else. This is everything else. This is the latest.
Okay.
So this revenue projections is version 5. Is there anything different than the version 4 for revenue that stood out? Is it, this is the one I'm thinking. This says 2020 revenue projections, parentheses, summary, version 5.
I don't believe the revenue changed at all. I believe it was just the expenses that changed.
Our revenue sharing numbers stayed the same despite the budget vetoes and everything. I don't think that was touched.
That's my understanding.
I have a question about the process
Yeah.
next. So this is October 8th, and I don't recall your schedule you laid out for when we moved to approve this, but if we wanted to mark it up, quote unquote, like, would we do that on the
Well, right now-
22nd or?
I mean, right now, I have no agenda items scheduled for October 22nd. There's nothing going on. There's nothing that's ripe right now for the board to act on. If we come back on just budget items, we've got nothing, Mark and I have nothing new to report.
So you're considering canceling the October 22 meeting?
As of now, yeah.
Well, the hearing, I'm sorry, I
The
forgot.
hearing, the public hearing would be November 12th, and then we would vote on the budget that night.
So we
Because
could,
We've been advised that it's not advisable to have the public hearing and then wait 2 weeks and then vote on the budget. You want to do it all in one night.
A little fresher that way also.
so if we wanted to bring in specific line items to add, delete, we could do it on the November 12th.
Sure. And, I would encourage you to talk to Mark or myself with any changes, suggestions, questions that you might have. We've got a lot of data in front of us, and, and we've got a couple of these under our belt now, so I think we're comfortable in how we've been handling it.
So non-represented increases, you're not putting an item in? Or they've already baked in the individual departmental budget?
Baked in the individual department budget.
They're already in there?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Nicely done.
so that's going to be it for item 9.
Nicely done.
Oh, no, we're not.
Have somebody send me some information on the commercial mower, what it is and what we're going
We can
to
do
take
that.
out of.
And chipper. I like that. I like that
Don't
chipper.
want a chipper yet, so I'll talk to the other guys about a chipper.
I want to run the chipper.
Okay, we're going to move on then. Supervisor and trustee comments. We did talk about October 22nd. As of now, I have no agenda items that are timely or complete enough for the board to act upon. I will not make a final decision on that meeting for another week, just in case something comes up that we.
What about the
absolutely
last
need to do.
week, like the 29th? We're not going to have anything,
No,
right?
Of what?
Of this month, of October?
No, we have nothing scheduled, and we never did. I know we have 2 meetings scheduled for November. November 12th is the one where we really want to do the budget, because the next meeting, I believe, is Thanksgiving week, and
Yeah.
we have a lot of vacancies that week.
So we're going to have only one meeting in November, we think?
As of now, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And then one meeting in December, that's part of our agenda, our schedule was to have one meeting in December.
Okay.
All righty. Gosh, I don't think I have anything else. Bob?
Nope.
Jerry Heitman?
Nothing.
Jerry?
Yes, you probably noticed right outside the door here, we have a box that's got some veteran symbols on it. It is the local veteran clubs are accepting contributions of either new or slightly used coats for veterans, for disabled veterans or homeless veterans. So we have already had a good response of people dropping stuff off. So if anybody has anything that they'd like to drop off here at the Township Hall, we have a box here for it.
What's the deadline for pickup?
October the 21st.
Thank you.
Okay, Mark?
All set?
Jack?
I reserve the right to bring up at a future meeting the instance of an unauthorized and unpermitted demo in the township.
Okay.
Who has the assignment to do the reconciliation for the dispatch with the city of Plymouth for 2018, which always happens after the audit? The audit's done.
Yeah.
It's always done by an accountant. It's not rocket science.
Yeah, yeah. We're working on all of that, and even, matter of fact, Mark and I are meeting a person of interest for the director's job on Monday, and we'll have that in line. We always chew that up at the end.
I think the people that are here can do it because it was always done by a mid-level accountant, not the director.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, though, is those people are doing other things
Okay.
right now, handling all the other day-to-day stuff.
I thought we were completely current.
Now, that was for
We are, but
arrears.
you still, but there may have to be a true-up at the end of the year.
And Cindy may still have to be involved in that because she did work with the city's finance director on making sure that formula was at least.
It was going to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great formula. I think it should still be completely redone, but I think they had a better understanding of its implementation.
Yeah, it's going to be much closer now. than
Once
before.
a year, after our audit is done, is the way the contract is written with the city of Plymouth, that the reconciliation
Yes,
is presented to the city of Plymouth.
yes.
We just don't want to get that too far.
Yeah, that's all done after the end of the year. Yeah, because we won't know.
We already know what 2018 is done. Normally, we submit it in September of the year.
Okay,
Okay,
but we're
2018 should have
completely-
been submitted in September this year.
We're already complete right now. We're right up to date right now. And remember,
But you better check with
Yeah.
that, because the audit wasn't done when, it was not completed until very recently. So I don't think the work has
in
been done.
May.
Check with Cindy or your accountants, but I'm pretty confident that reconciliation has not been done for 2018. It's always 1 year behind. That's the way it's supposed to be.
I remember seeing the emails.
Yeah, I think it's done. But, well, I'll get back with you on that, but I think it's done.
Okay. Anything else?
No,
Very good. Public comments. Supervisor Breen, any questions? We're doing a great job, right? All right, come on up. You got to come back up.
And if you pick up that little mic, a little round mic.
Okay, two quick things. One, when you're talking about doing your backup to the cloud, will there be any hard copy backup, we'll say, available? You know, like we'll say tax, taxation paid or whatever, will it all be up in the cloud? Will there be some physical hard copy down here?
No, we have a server here, and there's physical redundancy, so it puts an image on the server here and then throws an image up on the cloud.
Okay, so there's a redundancy.
Correct.
Okay. Now, one other question, it may not be in order, but you let me know. I live in Heather Hills, and there's the Verona Park development going on, and I know you guys were talking about, like for sewers and stuff, what's happening, with the other developments. And I'd like to know if there's anything holding up the Verona Park development other than the contractor.
Yeah, the Verona Park development is, it's still moving forward. He's on my email list. I nag these guys at least once a week, usually more. The latest story is that they are or still now have the utilities hooked up from DTE. They were waiting on DTE to hook up the electric. The other problem right now is something that we're finding out here in the township and around the area. The economy is still very strong, and it's very difficult to get contractors in here to do jobs.
Okay, I don't want them to miss another business cycle.
No, and I'm not making apologies for them either. I mean, we're on them all the time because I drive by there all the time, and I don't like seeing it, and it looks to me like nothing's getting done. So we are bugging them all the time, and we're getting good feedback. They're not. I can tell they're not blowing us off. They're disappointed in their lack of progress as well.
Okay, no, that's fine, and thank you. I think you guys do a great job.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? I need a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Heitman.
I move we adjourn at 8:40 PM.
Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Clerk Borba. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye.